Now, I didn't get my first pair of carbon fiber plated shoes until the beginning of 2021. When I had a 5K coming up, I started to get a little bit curious, knowing that I wanted to shave precious seconds off my 5K and get a PR. So I thought, everyone else is doing it. Why not me? I might as well try it. And so I started researching different carbon fiber plated shoes, and obviously Nike was very present on my mind, but I also wanted to consider a smaller company, give them a chance. And the Saucony Endorphin Pro was being touted by lots of people. And so I ended up giving those a shot. So that's what I have here, the Saucony Endorphin Pro. This is the first model. They have a second model out now, but I know that they're pretty similar. So I'm going to be talking about my experience with these. Then I was able to get the Vaporfly Next Percent 2. I'll talk about my experience with those. And then lastly, very recently, just a couple of months ago, purchased the Nike Alphafly Next Percent, and recently wore those for the Boston Marathon, as well as a race I did just last weekend. Just want to talk about how I felt about each of those pairs of shoes, what I'm going to be choosing coming up for any of my next races, and then hopefully giving you a little bit of perspective so you can choose what might be the best one for you. Now, I know it probably seems a little bit extravagant to some of you that I have 3 pairs of these carbon fiber plated shoes. However, I did not pay full price on any of these shoes and actually got an insane deal on 1 pair of these. So I'll also mention to you guys some good ideas for where you can score these for a little bit cheaper if the budget is an issue, which isn't it for most of us. And I want you guys to keep in mind that I am not a shoe expert, but am a running coach and someone who loves to run and races quite a bit. And so it's really just my own personal experience, what I feel, probably not using all of the correct jargon, and ultimately shoes feel different to everyone. And in the end, it's just what feels right for you. All right, so let's talk about the Saucony Endorphin Pro first. So that's the one that I had the longest, and I raced my 5K PR in them last year. So yes, my goal of getting the carbon fiber plated shoe to try to get a PR did work. Who knows in the end if it was the shoes or better fitness, probably a combination of both. But I will say when I first tried them on the very first time, I actually didn't love the fit of them. You can really feel the carbon fiber plate in the arch of the shoe. I could feel it like pressing on the arch, and I've had conversations with other people who mentioned the same feeling. And in the beginning, I kind of thought, well, maybe I got too small of a shoe. Maybe it just doesn't fit me correctly because it felt a little bit tight. In the end, I do think I could have gone up a size from my typical size. So that's a suggestion there if you guys are looking at these shoes. But the biggest thing about these shoes is that they feel very, very firm. Now, they all have a carbon fiber plate, so they're all going to be really firm in the fact that you cannot bend these, but just it feels firm underfoot. There's no squishiness involved there really, and it's more of like a propulsive type feeling. A lot of people say a rocker feeling. I absolutely feel that, and more like you are rolling forward with every step. So that's certainly a good feeling when you're racing. You do feel like you are popping off the ground and just rocking forward on each step. So it just feels really responsive and easy to go fast. So that was a thing that I noticed most about these, that yes, they felt fast. They were fast in my 5K, but they were not the most comfortable shoe. I didn't really like how rigid they felt. I think what's really nice about these is the price point compared to Nike. They are cheaper, even MSRP, and brand new. The second model is, I believe so, but you can still find this first model out there at a very good price. And I actually saw for a long time a good price at my local running store. So I would highly recommend checking those out so you can support your local running store. But if you can't find them, you can search online and probably find your size somewhere, and hopefully at a good price. And it just makes the carbon fiber plated shoe a little bit more accessible now that there are older versions that the companies have out there. Okay, next we're moving on to the Nike Vaporfly Next Percent 2. So I got these shortly after the Saucony Endorphin Pro, and the reason that I went ahead and pulled the trigger on buying these was because I wanted for the first time to just kind of get something right when it came out, especially because I had my YouTube channel. I thought, okay, well, I'll review these as part of it. But beyond that, I had a birthday coupon from Nike that I think was 20% off my purchase. I do recommend becoming a Nike member if you're not already and you are interested in getting one of these more expensive pairs of shoes. It just made it a little bit easier pill to swallow, even though they were still expensive, not nearly as expensive. So I've read that these are supposed to be geared towards shorter races, such as a half marathon and below. Definitely people are wearing these for marathons as well. I think these are just more considered for shorter distances now that they also have the Alphafly. So these have the Zoom X foam in them, which combined with the carbon fiber plate really gives you that great energy return and bounce that you're looking for in a racing shoe. So I've worn these for several distances. So originally I wore them in June at my Sun Valley Marathon, and I got a PR in that race running about a 3:34. So later I wore them for the Hot Chocolate 15K, which that was the first time I'd ever run a 15K, but I ran it in a very good time for me. Was thrilled with what I got, and I PR'd my 10K during the 15K. So that was a big deal. Then I ran the Pumpkin Pie 10K, a race my husband and I like to run in November, and I PR'd my 10K by like a full minute. Then I wore them for the California International Marathon, which is my current best time in the marathon with a 3:33:32. So this has been a fantastic shoe, PRing in every race distance that I did, which again, yes, it goes back to fitness and training and all of those things. A shoe is never going to pull you out of a training hole where you're not doing a good job, but it's only going to make it better if you have had a really good training cycle and you are ready to roll for race day. I cannot say enough great things about this shoe. I love it so much and highly recommend it to you. I just think it feels so good in every type of race on the road, no matter if there are hills or if the road bends a little bit side to side. I know there's a word for it, but I can't think of what it is right now. If there's little divots in the road, I just feel really stable and comfortable on this shoe all around. And you can just feel that squish a little bit more than like something like the Saucony Endorphin Pro. Again, the carbon fiber plate, you can't bend them. So it's still rigid, but it also just feels like you're squishing into the ground and popping off with every step. It feels very propulsive and I just really like it. But very good for anything that has lots of turns in it, whereas the Alphafly I feel like is harder when there are a lot of turns. All right, so getting lastly into the Alphafly, which is my newest pair. And you guys, I was definitely not in the market for a new carbon fiber plated shoe, but we have a Nike clearance store in town that I had never been to. And I got a little tip from someone that they had these there, and went in and it was like Christmas Day, you guys. They had these for $100, which if you know, this shoe is originally priced at like $275. So to find these for $100, I mean, it took everything in me not to buy like 3 pairs of these. So the Alphafly, you can see that they have these little AirPods in them. So that's something unique to this particular shoe. They also have the Zoom X foam on the bottom, and then obviously the rigid carbon fiber plate, and you cannot bend these either. So these do feel, just fit-wise, I feel like they're very similar because they're both Nikes. So the upper feels similar. They both have the same type of shoelaces on the top, which I love. They tie really tight. You don't have to worry about them coming loose. This one ties a little bit like to the side, whereas this one is more front and center. So some people might like that better. This one has more of like a sock-like all around. But I don't know, I like both of them on the top and they feel fairly similar to me. The back on these is also similar. The heel, they have like this little pad, if you can see in them as well. But yeah, the biggest difference you can just see is the stack height on these. So when you compare these two, the stack height is very, very different. That was what I noticed the most the first time, and it definitely takes some getting used to. I definitely was super, super careful on taking any like tight turns or if there were any divots in the road. I was a little bit more nervous that I might fall in these. So that was a little bit daunting. You gonna hang out with me for the video? So I wore these for the Boston Marathon and I had a really hard time choosing. And actually in my video where I was talking about running and that I was choosing, people were like, use what you know, make sure you use the Vaporfly. but I watched a video from In the Long Run, and I'm not sure his name, but he was very clear on his idea that he thought anything that was net downhill, that has a lot of hills and doesn't have a lot of turns, that the Alphafly would be the best choice. And he specifically said for something like the Boston Marathon. Now, I didn't take his word at face value or anything, but it was just some information that I took in determining what I thought I would wear. And plus, I really wanted to give these shoes a shot. And ultimately, I wore these. I did not PR at the Boston Marathon, but I still got another Boston qualifying time, which I was thrilled with. It's a very tough course, so I think the outcome would have been very similar. Will we ever know? No, we will never know, but I was still happy with this choice, and don't credit the shoes or anything like that for, missing my best time by 4 minutes or anything like that. I did also wear them for the Urban 10 Miler, which is here in Denver about a week ago. And that was one of the worst races I've had in a really long time. I was super far off my time. Again, not the shoes' fault though. They actually felt really, really good. But it was just a matter of me going out way too fast on a hot day, and it backfired, and it was a learning lesson, and that's fine. In the end, it makes me feel a little bit like I would go with these just because I didn't have my best experiences with the shoes, but again, it's not the shoes' fault. I do just love the way these feel on, love the way they look. They're an amazing shoe. And all around, I really think you can't go wrong with either of these. I do want to tell you guys that I have demoted these to not racing. So the only race I've actually ever worn these in was the 5K, just because I ended up loving the Nikes so much. But I do love wearing these for speed work days, and I wear them a lot to Orange Theory. Ultimately, wearing carbon fiber plated shoes are really good for recovery because they have such good energy return. So when you're a little bit older like me, in your 40s and upwards, and you need a little bit more time for recovery, and you'll take anything you can get, wearing a carbon fiber plated shoe can certainly help with that. As far as what carbon fiber plated shoe I would like to try next in the future, Altra finally came out with them. So if you guys have watched any of my other shoe videos, you probably know that I'm into Altra, and I do have them in my rotation. So they now have the Altra Vanish Carbon. So I am not ready to buy them yet. The price point is over $200 regular price, and I'm just not in a place to be spending that kind of money. You can already see that I don't need another carbon fiber plated shoe right now, but I think if I were to buy one next, that would be the one for me. If anyone has tried it, I would love to know your thoughts on it. And just all around, what favorite do you guys have? Which one do you think you're going to be using? Carbon fiber plated shoes are just fun to talk about and fun to race in. I highly recommend you get a pair. I know they're expensive, but they're a fun investment, and if you can afford it, absolutely go for it.